we were having a planning meeting one night at Waterloo. I think it was in December of '75. We're getting ready for, I don't remember what the issue was, and somebody said, well, who are we? What are we going to call ourselves? And this lady said, she says, we are Citizens for Community Improvement because we want to improve the community. Yeah, sounds good. And that's how it came from.
In 1974, Waterloo was a city divided. The west side had the money, the east side had long been ignored, discounted, and denied a voice in community issues. But 1974 also found 4 priests serving in Waterloo, each with a passion for the gospel in action. Father Joe Fagan was a priest at St. Edward's and a teacher at Columbus High School. Fathers Vince Hatt and Eugene Kutsch served as a team ministry for St. John's and St. Nick's. And Father Tom Rhomberg was the head of Catholic Charities for the Dubuque Diocese. All of them saw a need and an opportunity for change in Waterloo, and together their vision would become CCI. In 1974, Fathers Kutsch and Rhomberg traveled to Notre Dame for a Catholic conference for urban ministry meeting. It was there that both became convinced that community organizing could be used to address the social concerns they had for their Waterloo neighbors.
Convocation in Indianapolis in '74 involved a couple organizers from Oakland, California, and they told about their experiences, and they were living in a depressed area of town, and they indicated how they went about organizing and some of the issues they dealt with and the actions they organized in dealing with those issues. And that's really what impressed me, was the fact that that first of all they could empower those people that were really struggling, and then also that they could deal with the systematic injustice in those areas that they tackled. And so that's really what got me going on it in terms of organizing.
Made it pretty clear to us that there is, a professional approach to this thing, and that we should learn if we're going to really help those who are voiceless. My role, is to raise my own consciousness about it, and then do whatever I could to help Gene and the others get the funds they need to get started in Waterloo.
Back from Notre Dame, Kutsch talked to all 8 Catholic parishes in Waterloo and worked to get their support for a local office to do community organizing. Father Rhomberg made arrangements for Larry Baer to come to Waterloo to teach the parishes more about community organizing. All 8 parishes were there to hear it, including Father Joe Fagan from St. Ed's. While he had been involved with some local housing work before, this was new and exciting.
Wow. I mean, well, people got paid to do this. Amazing. And I wanted to do it. And I told folks, Kutsch and Hatt, and there was a guy named Bill McLaughlin there too, another priest, and Tom Rhomberg. If we're going to do this, I want to get the job.
Soon after Larry Baer's visit, the bishop approved the project, and Father Fagan became coordinator for what was then called the Catholic Office for Social Concerns. In June 1975, Father Fagan and Jim Thomas, who was the director of the Advocator Welfare Answering Service in Waterloo, headed to Chicago for organizer trainings in Chicago neighborhoods. While Fagan and Thomas were in Chicago, Kutsch, Rhomberg, and Hatt continued building the base of support needed in Waterloo.
Kutsch locally put the money together. Rhomberg was kind of the money behind the scenes, even behind that, for larger pots of local money through Catholic Charities. Vince Hatt was I think he was always out front I think he was head of the Priest Senate, which is the Diocesan Priest Senate. And he was he's always proposing progressive things to do. And remember when I got the job, he came over to St. Ed's where I was, and he came over, he wanted to visit about what are you going to do now, and God, he was real excited about it. He was very supportive, You know, we just kind of talked about things, and we went to Chicago. We came back a couple of times. He was very emotionally supportive, excited about what, always laughed at what you did. Whatever, he's always been that way. And then, I could never remember him saying he wouldn't help for anything he was asked. Kutsch is the same way. I could never remember getting a no from these guys.
Why did we survive those years? I think it was the fire in Eugene Kutsch and the fire in Joe Fagan, but there were different kinds of fires. The fire in Eugene Kutsch is kind of that steady fire in the furnace that you can always count on, and it's not going out. And he lived that by going to pastors, getting the money, reassuring them that this is gospel, don't get nervous, we'll be okay. And then there's that fire in Joe Fagan that can just erupt like a bonfire, you know, and it spreads and it gets into people, and then but then if it weren't for Gene back here, just kind of slow and steady fire, and then but if it weren't for this, it'd never go anyplace.
Their work began to pay off as more people got involved, and the old Waterloo felt a new force.
Waterloo had a history of using the race card to keep people divided. And it was real exciting. Is that these people now, they were on the same side at planning meetings trying to figure out what we're going to do next. You know, it was a real, people were starting to feel powerful. People were basically starting to feel like, you get right in there, you can win about anything. Like a new experience for for everybody that we were working with. That like, wow, you guys are doing things.
But it was the gospel of social justice, that really we tried to preach. It's the backdrop of why we exist as an agency.
One of the first victories was getting a chair in a drugstore so the senior citizens could sit down while they waited for their pills. This woman, 30 years later, still talks about that. You know, it was like before, you would say something and nothing would happen. And she organized a few of her people, and they got the chair. They got the chair in there.
The city fathers in Waterloo had to deal with this new energy, an energy that demanded justice, an energy that was set on getting things done.
The mayor hated us. Leo Ruff was the mayor. He was, like that opening meeting I told you about getting rid of that motel, he was supportive there because that was the first thing we did, and like he probably thought that was the end of it. But we had so many issues going on that we had City Hall hopping. They're going to pass a resolution that we couldn't pass out flyers. And we passed out flyers. But
though it started out due to the organization of the Catholic Church, their vision for CCI was something different, something broader.
Actually, when we started, I thought of it only as a Waterloo thing. Let's see, Kutsch and Thomas are way beyond me. They were thinking statewide. I was thinking it was just a Waterloo thing.
The visionary part that wasn't there that developed was the whole rural component, and it was just delightful to see the city folks and the farm folks seeing their commonality and supporting each other's issues. That wasn't a vision when we started.
It was very important to me then, and it is now, and it is still today, that we have grassroots organizing, because that is the only way, I think, that I know of where you can empower people who are relatively powerless. so that they can have some impact on the decisions that affect their lives. And so my sense and my vision was, this is always needed.
That for any democracy to work, the ordinary citizen just has to understand better how all this works out and start to understand, what needs to be changed.
But the goal was right from the beginning, that this office that was created would be to spin off a group like CCI. Right from the start, of all denominations, all races, all creeds, whatever. That was always the goal.
Those visions have been fulfilled, but Iowa CCI has continued to grow and build upon new visions, meeting new challenges. What started in a 12-foot by 8-foot breezeway of a house, with only a desk, phone, space heater, and a $6,500 budget, has grown into a statewide organization thousands of members strong, fighting and winning on issues that matter most.
How does it make you feel to have CCI turn 30 years old?
I'm very, very gratified. To me, it's been one of the more significant things that I've been involved in my life as a priest.
I believe it's one of the finest things I've ever been a part of. In some ways, it's one of the most spiritual things I've been a part of. The power structure cannot crush those people.
Well, it gives me great joy. I just want to go down and celebrate the 30 years because I think it's such a joyous thing. It's a source of hope. It's a sign of hope. We're celebrating 30 years. And I think it's wonderful to emphasize what gives us hope.
Makes me feel really good. Makes me feel great. Whether I'm around or not, this thing's going to keep going. And I like that.
We talk, we act, we get it done. That describes perfectly the story of CCI.